I'm going to be ranking every single NBA team on a tier list for this NBA season. As you guys can see, we do have 6 tiers ranging from finals contenders to almost there, to good not great, to mid, to play-in, and then also to capture the flag. Just at the bottom there, the teams I think are tanking for the number one overall pick in Cooper Flag. But the first team here is going to be the Atlanta Hawks, and I think they're the perfect definition of a mid NBA team. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think they're kind of mediocre. They're not a great team. I don't think they're going to make any noise in the playoffs, but they have some really good players like Jalen Johnson, Trae Young, Dyson Daniels. They have pretty good center depth with Clint Capella and Aneku Okongwu. So I like this overall Hawks team. I just don't think it's on the same level as some of these really good NBA teams in the league, but I also don't think they're going to finish in the play-in in a weaker Eastern Conference. But the Boston Celtics have to be in that finals contenders. I mean, they are seriously still the best team in the league on paper, and just with how well they've been playing this season, they've had a couple bad losses to like the Chicago Bulls and the Philadelphia 76ers on Christmas Day, and they don't have the greatest of records, not like the Cleveland Cavaliers, but still they have that finals experience from last year, and I honestly believe they have a legit chance and a really good chance to go back to the NBA Finals this year. Now, for the Los Angeles Lakers, I do believe they're in that almost there tier. Now, that might be a little bit of LeBron bias and a little bit of Laker bias, but I do actually believe if this Lakers team can make one or two trades at the trade deadline, going out and getting a Cam Johnson, for example, or a Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets, or going out and getting a Walker Kessler from the Jazz, or going out and getting a Jonas Valanciunas from the Wizards, there's a lot of moves that this Lakers team can make, and I think they have some okay assets. And it just came out a couple days ago that Rob Pelinka is willing to trade all 3 first-round picks the Lakers have, future first-round picks, to go out and get another star or just to go out and get other really good role players around LeBron and AD. So they're kind of going in that win-all mode, and I like to see that as a LeBron and Lakers fan. So I think they're almost there. I think they're playing great basketball. They just beat the Kings without LeBron James. They won on Christmas against the Warriors in a really good win. And they've been playing a lot better over the course of the last 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month now. So I'm liking the Los Angeles Lakers, and I think they have a legit chance to contend, but I don't think right now are my picks to be in the NBA Finals as finals contenders. But speaking about finals contenders, and I would say the two best teams in the league is the Boston Celtics and the OKC Thunder. I think both these teams are very, very well balanced. They have really good defenders, but then they also have elite scorers, like some of the best scorers in the NBA with Shea and Jason Tatum, but then they got very good defenders with guys like, Cason Wallace on the Thunder, guys like Lou Dort, Caruso, even Shea's a very good defender himself, right? And the Boston Celtics have guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White. So both these teams, to me, I think are the two best teams in the league. I think this would be an amazing finals matchup if it were the Celtics versus the Thunder. I think this would probably be a 6 or 7 game series that would be super high level basketball and very entertaining to watch. So both these teams for me are definitely going to be in finals contender. Now on the flip side of that, the Brooklyn Nets I think are going to be capture the flag. The record isn't even that bad right now, but the thing is they're probably going to trade a lot of their good players. Like I said, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith. They also already traded Dennis Schroeder. They're trying to tank. They're trying to get a top pick next year. They don't want to compete. This was kind of a surprise year for how good they've been, how competitive they've been in the Eastern Conference, with obviously last offseason trading Mikal Bridges and kind of going into a full rebuild mode. But I do think they're going to trade a lot of their assets and will eventually at the end of the season probably be in that lower half in the Eastern Conference. Definitely not going to make the play-in. Now the Minnesota Timberwolves I think are better than the Hawks, but I don't think they're almost there. I think they're quite a bit away from contending and making a run in the playoffs. So for me, I do think the Timberwolves are the perfect example of a good basketball team. I think they still have Anthony Edwards, who's a top 15 player in the league, top 10 player in the league. At least he's playing like it this season. He's elite. They still have a good team, but I don't think they're great. I don't think they're on the same level as the Los Angeles Lakers and a lot of other teams that we'll talk about. Charlotte Hornets, I would have said play in earlier in the season because I thought with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller fully healthy, they were playing good and they were actually very competitive in the Eastern Conference. But then LaMelo Ball goes down with an injury and they just don't look the same. And he's kind of been a little bit rocky since he's returned from his injury. So I do think the Charlotte Hornets are probably going to finish in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference, just like the Brooklyn Nets. I think as I'm recording this video, they're like 7-23. So don't have a great record for the Charlotte Hornets. The Chicago Bulls, to me, is going to be our first team in that play-in range. They're hovering around that right now in the Eastern Conference, and I just don't think they're that great of a team. They also could be looking to trade some of their assets with guys like Zach LaVine, maybe Vucevic, if you want to get off him while he's playing still elite level basketball. But I do think the Chicago Bulls will probably finish somewhere in that 7-10 range, putting them in the play-in. The Golden State Warriors, I mean, they'll probably finish in the play-in if I had to guess in the Western Conference. Like, I don't think they're going to be a top 6 seed. But the thing is, can you put Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors in play-in? I don't think so. I think they're probably more of just that mid-tier. Maybe they're on the same level as the Timberwolves. I would say they're probably, which is how they've been playing recently when I'm recording this video. They've been playing really bad. I know they just beat the Suns last night when I'm recording, but still, I'm just not too high on this Golden State Warriors team with how they've looked recently. Dennis Schroeder was a good addition, but he just kind of hasn't found his groove in this Warriors system. They just don't have really good shooters around him. Kuminga has started to look a lot better. I mean, he just had like a 34-point performance against the Suns last night. So I think the Warriors, for me right now, are going to be kind of in that higher tier in mid. I know a lot of Warriors fans will probably be upset with that ranking, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are another team in finals contenders. I mean, they have the best record in the East and the best record in the entire NBA. I believe they're like 27-4 as I'm recording this video. They're just playing unreal basketball, and I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about how good this Cavs team is. They just beat the Nuggets a couple nights ago. They've been beating really good teams, smashing the really bad teams. So overall, they're looking like a team that's probably going to get 60 wins. Now, for the Dallas Mavericks, I'm going to put them in almost there for now, just because I want to have 2 teams from the East and 2 teams from the West in that finals contenders tier. And I think we got the 2 teams from the East, we got the Celtics and the Cavs, and I do think the Thunder out of the West are kind of a lock to be in that finals contender tier. But I want to wait till the end of the video to kind of assess all of the Western Conference teams that we do have in that almost there tier. And I think the Nuggets are also going to be in there as well. But then, one of these 3 teams, like the Lakers, Mavs, and Nuggets, potentially I'll move up at the end of the video into the finals contenders, and I'll kind of talk about my reasoning why. But the Denver Nuggets, Jokic is still playing like the best player in the world. Jamal Murray over the last 5 games or so has actually been playing a lot better. He just had a 34-point performance against the Detroit Pistons last night as I'm recording this video. And the Dallas Mavericks did lose Luka Doncic to an injury for probably over a month, which is super disappointing to see if you're a Mavs fan. But I think they'll coast and they'll float around the 500, like just over the 500 range, and I think they'll be fine in the Western Conference. But once they get fully healthy, this Dallas Mavericks team has looked like one of the best teams in the entire NBA. The Detroit Pistons, I want to put in that play-in ranking, but realistically, I just don't think they're going to be there. I mean, you know what? I can put the Detroit Pistons in the play-in, but their record I just don't think is going to be good enough. But we'll put the Pistons in play-in. I think Cade's playing as one of the best point guards in the Eastern Conference and is seriously not talked about enough. And I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league right now. The Houston Rockets, I don't think are almost there. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule, kind of like the OKC Thunder have been over the past couple seasons. And I think the Houston Rockets are a really good team. I'm liking the play of pretty much everybody on their roster. Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, the Terra Twins between Amen Thompson and Tari Eason have been playing amazing this season. Sengun is looking like a baby Jokic. I mean, he's playing amazing. He just had a really good game a couple games ago. So overall, I think this Houston Rockets team is really good, but I don't think they're in that almost there category alongside like the Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Mavs as well. But the next team here is the Pacers, and I think the Pacers are the perfect definition of mid. They might finish in that play-in range just because their record isn't great, but they're just mid, right? Tyrese Halliburton's not having a great season. Benedict Mathurin and Siakam have been playing really good. Miles Turner, I just don't know if I really can trust him on the defensive end. I don't think he's a very good defender besides blocking the ball, so like blocking shots. So overall, I think the Pacers are just kind of mid, kind of along that same tier as the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I think for the Los Angeles Clippers, I'm going to put them in like the highest tier of good, not great. I know they don't have Kawhi Leonard, and they still have the same record as the Los Angeles Lakers. And once they get Kawhi Leonard back, you're expecting them to be a lot better. And that definitely could happen. But you have to remember, Kawhi Leonard is not just going to come out the gates after missing so much time and just start playing like prime 2019 Kawhi Leonard and just carrying this Clippers roster. he's going to be rusty, he's going to be inefficient, and there's going to be some changes in who's taking the shots, right? Norm Powell, he's probably not going to be getting as many looks. Harden, right? He's not going to be getting as many looks offensively, and it's just going to kind of slow the game down for this team, giving the ball to Kawhi Leonard a lot on offense. Now, your defense will probably be a lot better, so I think this Clippers team will get better with Kawhi, but I don't think it's going to happen right away like a lot of NBA fans are expecting, but maybe it will. I just think that the Clippers are maybe one tier below those three teams I do have in the Western Conference in that almost there category. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies, I do think are in almost there. I think the Grizzlies look like one of the best teams in the Western Conference. They have been playing amazing over the past month or two. Zach Edey looks like Rookie of the Year. They have Scottie Pippen Jr. playing amazing for them off the bench. John Moran is still looking like that superstar he is. They have good role players and supporting cast around him like Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. Right, those guys are still playing very good basketball. Santi Aldama's been playing good. Like, there's just so many names I can name on this Memphis Grizzlies team, and they have one of the best records in the Western Conference. So I'm pretty confident that potentially if they make a good playoff run, maybe a couple teams get injured, or maybe they just get an easier path to the finals, they potentially could make a run to the Western Conference Finals like they almost did a couple years ago. But as of right now, I'm going to put the Memphis Grizzlies in that almost there category. Now, the Miami Heat, I think, are probably also mid. Maybe you could put him in good, not great, because of how well Tyler Hero has been playing. There's just kind of that whole Jimmy Butler situation going on that I'm not really sure about, not really confident about. I think that's kind of hurting the team morale a little bit. Pat Riley had to come out and make a statement on the official Miami Heat pages and say that they're not trading Jimmy Butler. But then we got Shams over here tweeting and reporting that they're trying to trade Jimmy Butler. Like, it's just a whole fiasco over there in Miami. But I do think they're still a pretty good team. I'm going to just put them in that mid category for now. The Milwaukee Bucks, I think, are good, not great. I think they're a good basketball team. They looked really bad at the start of the season, but then kind of gearing up into the NBA Cup, and then they do win the NBA Cup. They've started to look really, really good over the past couple of weeks. Now, they've struggled a little bit since then, but still, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are a good team, just not great on that same level as like the Dallas Mavericks or the Lakers or the Nuggets or the Grizzlies for me personally. Now, the Pelicans, crazy enough to say, I don't think anybody would expect this at the start of the season. Like, before I did the tier list, before the season started, if I were to do a tier list, right, ranking these teams, there is no way I would have the Pelicans in that bottom tier. But it just came down to so many injuries at the start of the season. And just with guys coming in and out of the rotation, it's impossible to build any sort of chemistry, any sort of playing skills together. Like, it just is impossible to do so. And even when some of these guys have been on the floor, just haven't looked too great. DeJounte Murray hasn't looked his same self as he was in the Hawks that the Pelicans did trade for. And, you know, Brandon Ingram was having a really good season, but then he gets injured. Zion's been out for pretty much the entire year. You know, even their rotation guys have missed some minutes and missed some playing time. So overall, just really bad season for the Pelicans. And seriously, they're going to finish as probably one of the weaker teams. Like, they're right now at the bottom of the Western Conference. The New York Knicks, I am super high on, and I think are almost there. Like, I would legit put them in one of the higher positions in this almost there category. I think the Knicks are really good. I mean, Jalen Brunson just had 55 points last night as I'm recording. Like I said on my Knicks video, if you guys did watch it, that's the scary thing about the Knicks, because Mikal Bridges can score 41 for you on Christmas. Then a couple games later, Jalen Brunson can go score 55. Then Cat can go score 40. Then OG can go score 35 and play elite level defense. There's just so many good players on this Knicks team, and I seriously think their starting five is one of the best starting fives in the league. Now, I think for the Orlando Magic, with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner healthy, I would maybe consider putting them in that almost there category. But the fact that those guys have just been injured for a majority of the season, specifically talking about Paolo Banchero, and now Franz probably going to miss a month or two, is just super disappointing and really frustrating to see from a really good Magic team, because even without their two superstar all-star caliber players, they have still been playing good. They're making games competitive, making them close, and still trying to fight out and dog out some wins, but they just don't have that star power to compete in the NBA. But I do still think they're a good basketball team, even without those two names. And once they come back fully healthy, maybe they can ramp up for the playoffs. I think this is a team that can make some serious noise and maybe upset like a Boston Celtics, or upset a New York, or upset a Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. I would not be surprised to see that. The Sixers, just with how bad they started. I mean, their record is still pretty bad right now, but I do think they're starting to play a lot better, and I think they'll get into that play-in range. To me, they're probably fully healthy, a better team than the Pacers and the Hawks, but if we're talking about standings-wise, I think they're going to finish in that play-in tier. The Phoenix Suns, honestly, have kind of looked mid. I'm not going to lie to you. The Phoenix Suns haven't really looked that good. I mean, I know Devin Booker has missed some time. Kevin Durant's missed a lot of time. But right now, I mean, the Houston Rockets, I think, are playing a lot better. I might move the Timberwolves down just because I think the Rockets and Clippers have looked a lot better than the Timberwolves, Warriors, and Suns. But I don't know. I mean, these three teams, I guess, are kind of all in the same tier for me. The Portland Trailblazers are going to be in capture the flag. They're just not a good team. Sacramento Kings, I think, are going to be in the play-in. I mean, that firing of Mike Brown really shocked me, and they just lost to the Lakers without LeBron James. Their record is horrible. They've now lost 6 games in a row, and it's not going to be getting any better for the Sacramento Kings team. So overall, I think they're going to finish probably below the play-in, but I think for this tier list, they're going to be in that play-in tier. Now, the Spurs are definitely better than the Kings, and I think they're probably just a little bit below like the Timberwolves, Warriors, and Suns. I'm not really sure if I can put any three of these teams in good, not great, but maybe I'll bump a couple up into the good, not great tier here at the end of the tier list. The Raptors are for sure going to be in capture the flag. I mean, they're doing a great job tanking. They're doing a great ethical job of tanking, but losing close games and playing their young guys and really developing RJ Barrett, quickly, Scotty Barnes, and all just the good young players the Raptors have. So really nice to see as a Raptors fan. But yes, they're going to finish as one of the worst teams in the league, just like the Utah Jazz and just like the Washington Wizards. None of these teams are particularly great. None of these teams are going to make any noise in the season and are trying to tank and get the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft. So the last thing we have to do here on this tier list is move one of these Western Conference teams into the finals contenders tier. And I think for me personally, it's going to be the Dallas Mavericks. I think when fully healthy and once they're playing at their best, they seriously look like one of the best teams in the entire league. And for me personally, this is kind of my prediction of like the Eastern Conference Finals matchup this year in the playoffs and the Western Conference Finals matchup between the Thunder and the Mavericks and the Celtics and the Cavs. I do think these are the 4 best teams in the NBA currently. And I know a lot of people are probably looking at the Suns, looking at the Timberwolves, looking at the Warriors, and saying, are they really in that mid category? And I mean, I guess I could move probably them up into the good, not great, because when they're playing good, they still have so much star talent. They have still Kevin Durant, for example, on the Suns, Devin Booker, Timberwolves still have Anthony Edwards, Warriors still have Curry. But just they have not looked good. So for me personally, I'm kind of debating between putting these teams in a good, not great, or putting them in mid. But let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about my tier list? Get in the comments down below. Don't be shy. Let me know what you guys would change about my ranking. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to disagree on. I'm sure we might have some stuff to agree on. But let me know that stuff in the comment section down below, what you guys would change about my tier list. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.